Hey everyone, my name is Luis and welcome back. Today we're picking up where we left off on the Pontiac 455 build. I'm going to be testing out a new tool that I just bought. It's called a dial bore gauge. We're going to use that tool to measure cylinder wear and cylinder out of roundness to see if we need to send this engine to the machine shop and what work needs to be done to it. So this is the new tool we're going to be testing out. It's a dial bore gauge by the company Haas, although many companies make one. This one was like a mid-range price one. It was like $150. This tool is used for measuring inside diameters. This particular one measures from 2 inches all the way up to 6 inches diameter bores. And the reason why the dial bore gauge is a better measuring tool for this particular job is simply the fact that it has these little rounded wheels right here that allow the 2 measuring points to teeter back and forth. And when you teeter back and forth, you can look at the movement on this dial. And basically what you would be doing is you would teeter it back and forth until you get the most peak measurement on your dial, and that would be your true measurement, that peak. The actual measuring part is actually happening right here. This little bit is the part that actually moves, and then it somehow transfers the measurement all the way through the handle and towards the dial, and the dial itself only moves 1/4 of an inch total, and it spins multiple times. And each singular line on here is 5/10,000ths of an inch. So I'd be lying if I told you that this is the only tool you needed to buy. You also need to buy an outside micrometer to set this tool, because this tool is good at measuring changes of distance, but is not good at measuring a specific distance without another accurate tool to set it up. This particular one is a 4-inch to 5-inch size micrometer. The measurement accuracy is up to 1/10,000th of an inch. We're going to be measuring distances of 5/10,000ths to 1/1000ths, so this is plenty accurate for this test. Now, if we're going to be measuring the cylinders, we got to know what specifications this engine originally came with, and that's why I have this 1972 Pontiac service manual that we're going to be looking through. This literally has information to rebuild a whole car, and it's pretty damn detailed too. And it'll tell us the torque specifications for things, it'll tell us ring gap, it'll tell us bearing clearances, and it'll tell us the bore of this particular engine. I mean, you could probably Google this, but right here it tells us that the Pontiac 455 has a 4.15 inch bore with a 4.21 inch stroke. And if you look a little earlier in this book, we can find that it has a section on inspecting the cylinder bores, and it tells us here that from the smallest to the largest distance, we shouldn't see more than 6/1000ths of a change. Using the specifications in the book, I set this outside micrometer to 4.15, and now what you do with the dial bore gauge is you put a series of probes on the end to try to get just above the actual measurement that you need, and then you would go ahead and put the 2 tips on this outside micrometer, and your dial is actually going to move and post a random number. And what you're going to do from that point is you're going to set that random number to 0, and then you'll properly have zeroed out your dial bore gauge. And so whatever we record outside of that is now going to be the larger measurement or the smaller measurement, and that's going to show how much wear our cylinder has or how much out of roundness it has. Okay, so we're getting ready to measure. I'm going to be writing down all my findings on a piece of paper, so that way we can compare the results of all of the cylinders, because although this is an engine and everything's unified, each individual cylinder lives its own life and has its own wear patterns or distortion, and so we're going to see the individual health of each cylinder. We're also going to be measuring multiple times inside of the cylinder. So near the top, the middle, and the lower part of the cylinder, we're going to see different wear because of the different forces acting on the piston as it's going through the cycles. We're also going to be seeing, and this is going to be from the thrust side, we're also going to be measuring the non-thrust side, just to check out of roundness in the cylinder in general. We're going to be measuring the top thrust side, middle thrust side, and then the lower thrust side. So let's go ahead, just kind of insert it here. I'm measuring about 1 inch in, and we're getting 2.5 thousandths. I'm measuring somewhere in the middle, And we're kind of just above. We're almost at 3,000s. So I'm going to say 3,000s. And then we're going to check the lower cylinder. We're more like 2.5. Now we're going to check the non-thrust side near the top. So to recap on the number one cylinder, we got at the very top, we got 2,500s, then we went to 3,000s, and then we went back to 2,500s. So it looks like we kind of have more wear in the center of the cylinder, just by a little bit. It's really not that much. So after measuring all of the cylinders with the dial bore gauge, I found that every single cylinder has some wear because it's an old engine, but some cylinders experience way more wear than others. And what I found is that starting from the front of the engine towards the back, it increasingly got more and more wear and distortion in the cylinders. Cylinder 1 and 2 were kind of similar. They experienced around 3,000ths of an inch wear. Cylinders 3 and 4, they kind of were similar. They were kind of a little bit more to 3,500ths to 4,000ths of an inch wear. Now going to 5 and 6, they experienced just a little bit more wear as well, from 3,500ths to 4,000ths. And then the final two cylinders experienced the most amount of wear, averaging at least 5,000ths of an inch wear, which is way more than the front of the cylinders and gradually worse as we got to the back. So after all that, using the dial bore gauge was pretty useful in seeing the health of the engine, seeing that the back two cylinders were pretty worn down already, and the front cylinders are still kind of good for like a low dollar rebuild. I'm probably going to end up sending it to the machine shop anyway, because there was a head gasket failure on this side, and what seems it was not addressed for a very long time. So I'm a little concerned that the deck is a little bit warped on this side. As far as the cylinders are concerned, probably going to get them cut, if not to 10 over, maybe 30 over, because those pistons are more readily available than a 10 over style piston. So yeah, I hope you learned something. I'm definitely going to be using this tool again in the future. It's a nice thing to have. Even though you're going to end up sending an engine to the machine shop, it's nice to know the overall health of the engine before you send it. And that way you understand a little bit more about what's happening to your engine when you just get it rebored at the machine shop. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on the Pontiac 455 build.